podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Here with Dan. How you doing, Dan?
I'm all right, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, enjoying the weekend. And I've almost already forgotten United's performance on Friday night. So what do you think of it?
It was weird, as in the performance itself, I liked quite a lot of it.
Yeah.
And it was a lack of ruthlessness and a lack of knowledge of what to do when it didn't quite go as they wanted it to. But I would say that we've seen significant improvements in the last 3 games. And obviously Borough 7th in the Championship, so they're not a great team. But they won like 7 out of 9, 7 out of 10 or something in the last game.
Yeah.
So they do know what they're doing and they're not dreadful relative to the Championship. And United played some lovely football.
30 shots, 7 big chances created. That's a lot. So it really wasn't that bad.
You've got to score moments.
Yeah, there were quite a lot of those, and some good stuff, even in midfield. I don't expect Paul Pogba to put in good performances every game from now till the end of his contract, but this wasn't bad for a return after several months out, and Bruno was pretty good, doing Bruno-type things, and even the fullbacks weren't bad. Yeah,
I mean, they noticeably got worse when Pogba went off, which doesn't always happen. I mean, the thing about it that I couldn't shake was it was very, very Arsenal, that performance.
Oh, God.
Where you just tear the opposition apart and have bugger all to show for it at the end. And when it got serious, I mean, I guess they still did have those chances after 1-1, but one of the things also that I found bothered me watching sort of this, the last 20 minutes and extra time was I felt like there was a bit of an unwillingness on the part of some players to pull the trigger.
Right.
You get to the point of the move where you have to put a cross in or try something, basically take a risk, try a shot, try a killer pass. And I wasn't sure that there was, Dallo in particular, I felt didn't want to take that risk. You would prefer to try another pass, to try and make an opportunity for a sure thing for someone else rather than no, we're at the point, mate, where you have to gamble. And if it doesn't work, you try and win the ball back and gamble again. But you have to have the bottle to make that move, to pull the trigger. And I felt like there weren't enough players that wanted to do that.
Yeah, I kind of feel that for 2 years of Bruno being in the team, they relied on him to do that more and more. And he's the guy who takes all the risks all the time, even in situations where perhaps he shouldn't do. And the rest of them do tend to play it safe. And look, Dallo being in the side, he's there because he's more offensively minded than Wan-Bissaka, surely. And he's...
Yeah, it's a workaround.
Yeah. So I don't actually expect that he'll ever be, a particularly great fullback. But he's done all right, and he did all right on Friday night. And overall, if you didn't see the score, I think you'd probably think it was a decent performance by United, albeit against... pretty mediocre opposition, but you have that many shots and that many really good chances and don't take them, then there's always a risk that you pay the price.
You get what you deserve. You get what you deserve. And I mean, I guess we do probably have to talk about their goal.
Yep.
For my part, I thought it was a goal. I thought it was a goal according to the laws.
Yeah.
And it was probably a goal according to what I think the laws should be too. I mean, unless you redraft the laws, I say this all the time on Twitter. The laws are poorly drafted.
Very.
What you need to explain particularly with regard to handball, you need to say, it's not enough to say deliberate or accidental. You need to explain what that means, because does it mean deliberately trying to touch the ball with your hand, or does it mean moving your hand towards the ball, or your hand being in an unnatural position? And in this age particularly, it should come with examples. Here's some pictures and some tape. And this is a penalty, and this is an infraction.
And it would help everyone, yeah.
And this one isn't. And it feels like the laws have been drafted by people that know nothing about law and nothing about football. And you need to find a lawyer who knows something about football and knows something about law. Not me. I don't know anything about law. I don't know or much about football either. But It's not. It shouldn't be that difficult. And I don't have a problem with the refs being able to judge this stuff impressionistically at the time. I don't need the thing that was a penalty in this game here to need to be a penalty in some third division game in Indonesian next week. But we do need to understand what the laws mean, and I don't mind if we allow the officials to interpret them. But this one, unless you change the law, I think, to say if you make a material movement with the ball towards your hand that stops something or makes something happen, that's what the law would have to say for me not to think that was a goal.
I take your point on board that probably should be a goal if this is what we want it to be, because I don't think he's particularly trying to handball it. The problem with the law is it's ambiguous, and then it's applied differently in different phases of the game. So the words unnatural position are still in Law 12. You can go download them today. They're still there, but it's only applied in certain situations. If Watmore had been the goal scorer, that would have been ruled out, right? It's because it was the final pass.
He got rewarded for a crap finish.
Yeah, right. But if he'd been in the penalty area at the other end and a defender doing that, that would have been a penalty because the hand was in an unnatural position. So it's a phase of the game, and that's what makes it both confusing and ambiguous and seemingly sometimes unfair. And I kind of think it's weird that you have a rule about handball and it applies differently in different circumstances, unless we're going to be really clear about that. Because, look, listening to the pundits, and it's on ESPN here, so we have Craig Burley and Casey Keller, who I'm not, sure, tip-top pundits when it comes to
Burley's
the details.
Big United hero for his role in the 1996 Cup semi-final. I can't think about Craig Burley without having a big
thinking about that
smile.
Yeah, he's got his teeth fixed these days, which I suppose you have to for TV, don't you? So anyway, it's the weird thing. The reason why you get a whole bunch of pundits and fans debating whether this is okay or not is because depending on the phase of the game, depends on whether that's handball or not. And that feels weird.
And pundits rarely know the laws. There's also that. But I think that I would be happy with a law that said, if you try to handle the ball on purpose, as in you move your hand intending to handle the ball, that's an infringement. And anything else is not an infringement. I wouldn't really care about that.
Yeah,
or you might say, I don't think if you move ball to hand's a penalty, a free kick, whatever. But yeah, I think it just needs to be clear. I don't even care that much what it is.
The interpretation of handball being only if you deliberately did it, which would be fine if that's the case. I don't think that's ever really been the case, at least, well, not in the last 30 years or so. Again, it's so weird that because he miscontrolled it and it hits his hand and he's gained the advantage of controlling it with his hand, and he wasn't the guy who's taking the shot or scoring the goal, that it's somehow okay.
It was an unfortunate confluence of circumstances, but United didn't defend that situation properly.
No.
And they should have been out of sight. And you never lose a game of football because of the referee. You lose because you weren't good enough to win it, despite what the referee did.
And despite despite some people trying to goad Rangnick into it, he didn't fall into that trap either.
He's quite good at this press conference business. I mean, I'd like him to be better at making the team better as well, but
yes,
the way that he really is I don't really want to use the forensic because then it sounds like I'm talking about Keir Starmer. It seems like it's the only word you're allowed to use to describe Keir Starmer, and he's the only person who has that.
Well, if I was going to apply Rangnick to politics, he might be the Keir Starmer.
He's sort of a Keir Starmer,
He's got a bit about him, yeah. But I think he's got more personality than Keir Starmer, to be fair. So it's a tough one. I mean, but the thing is what I like, what he does with the players that he's falling out with is he's just totally dispassionate in reporting the facts. He said this, you believe him. He doesn't have any axe to grind. There's never anything personal about it. It's just like, this is what he said and this is what we're doing. Yep. And he's doing quite a good job, I think, of ruining the credibility of those people, and their attractions on Twitter make it seem more like they did it. For sure, yeah. Look,
than they didn't.
If Jose Mourinho had said what Rangnick said about Martial and Lingard, I would hold that with great suspicion. Suspicion. I just won't believe a thing he said about any of the players because he always had an agenda. But Rangnick does appear to be playing this with a very straight bat. I'd be really surprised if he's not. And it seems that there's form, at least with Martial. We knew that he often told the medical team he wasn't ready when the medical team thought he was ready.
And
There's
we've
form
seen
with
him warm
Edeka.
up when he can't really be asked. We've seen him play when he's not really bothered.
Right.
Like, there's not, like, that he doesn't have a course of dealing. There's no build up of loyalty that makes you think that Martial is someone who you can particularly rely on in that aspect.
Now, Jesse Lingard, probably, I don't know that he has the same form. I mean, he had his issues both on the pitch and off it.
That's the off-pitch issues make it hard. You don't really want to say too much about that because you just don't know.
No, it seems like, if you read between the lines with Rangnick, is that Lingard didn't get his move away for Brazilians from Newcastle and was not feeling right about it and asked to have a couple of days off, was given it, and then his PR team got on his social media account, because none of these fuckers actually do their own Twitter, and have tried to deny it all, and Rangnick just kind of cut him off at the knees. That might be a non-generous interpretation of it, but it's certainly the way it struck me.
I
anyway.
mean, Lingard's error was not going in the summer. He should have forced it. He should have forced it in the summer, and Holly should have forced him out if he wasn't forcing himself out.
Yeah.
But,
and it made no sense for the club because he wasn't used, and it made no sense for the player because he's wasted a year of his career, and it made no sense from a financial sense either. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, United, as I said this before, that they should have been able to buy Declan Rice with proceeds of sale, more or less.
Yes.
They didn't, and they've now not got him. And he's going to cost a shitload more if they try and buy him next summer. And Chelsea are going to might well be in the mix as well.
Yep. Yeah, which Moyes said basically at the weekend, didn't he? That the price has now gone up. So I imagine that United are not going to do a deal there. But anyway, so, I mean, it was kind of funny with Rangnick. I don't mind this at all. Of course, it's partly his personality, but also partly he knows that he's not getting the job full time. And it's okay for him then to drop the bomb.
Well, he can clean house because he is still going to be involved. So in some ways it's difficult because there's very supply teacher vibes or whatever you want to call it about his position. But at the same time, he is going to be involved. So the cleaning house is something that if he does it, he's got something to gain from doing it. So he will do it. Whereas if he wasn't staying on, then he might not think, he might not need this aggravation, or the board might not want to listen to him, or I mean, we obviously did still have that problem with the board where they wouldn't allow in players, which is, I was thinking, it felt kind of strange. You could understand why they say, well, we can't let you buy players for the next guy, but if they're trying to busy offering Pogba a deal, then
exactly,
that starts to not make as much sense.
No, well, you still got Richard Arnold at the top, who will be looking at the value of the asset from a banker's eyes and not a football club's eyes, because, and we still don't really have a director of football, even if Murtaugh has that name.
Darren Fletcher now appears to be coach or assistant manager.
Who knows? Because he's on the sideline with a tracksuit on, which is a weird spot for a technical director. Anyway, whoever the next guy is, and presumably it's not Rangnick, he's going to have a lot of problems, and Rangnick can help or hinder that. I don't think he can actually make it worse, given the number of players that will be out of contract or just want out of the club.
As I said, I still think, we are starting to see positive signs of the playing of football.
Yeah.
And it feels like one of the problems I felt at the beginning with Rangnick was the constant changing of formations. Stop that now. And he also now doesn't really have many options of what to do with the team, because they had a lot of options up front. Now he does. Cavani's never fit. He doesn't want to pick Lingard. Greenwood's gone. So actually, you're basically perming sort of three from four most of the time.
It is much narrower range of options. Yeah, I mean, Edison will be back for Burnley if he's fit. I mean, and that was the other one that Rangnick sort of called out, but in much more polite fashion.
I
wasn't it,
felt like it didn't. He said a couple of things, Rang, that didn't sound good. But actually, when you start to pick him apart, there was the thing that he said about Pogba playing for a move away.
Yeah.
Now, on the face of it, that looked horrendous. That we're going to let this bloke play for United so he can get a big move free somewhere else. On the other hand, the question really is saying, how can you trust this guy?
Yeah.
And Rang was saying, well, I can trust this guy because he's actually got to play well.
Yes, I thought that's what he was saying. Yeah,
and it's all very well for dickheads like us to say, well, if I was manager of United, I just want, or not even as manager, as a supporter, if Pogba wants to go, Gesundheit, I want him to go. You could spend the rest of the season sitting at the side.
Yes.
However, if your professional reputation is on the line and you've got Paul Pogba available to you and you've got United's team as it is, there's not a chance that you're not using Paul Pogba. And any person that says that they wouldn't is lying to themselves. Because if you want United to win and you're in charge and it's on you to make United win, you can't not use a player as good as Paul Pogba. Like, you might not pick him in the first team because you might think you need McFred and Bruno, but you have to use Paul Pogba because he's a good player.
And I think that Rangnick will clearly do that. Spurs didn't with Eriksen when he was, trying to get out, and he went for a fee in the end, didn't he, rather than on a free, and they sort of dumped him onto the bench permanently. But it makes no sense to me to do that with Pogba. Who knows? Look, we might not get that level of performance. I hope Rangnick's right in that, and I hope Pogba is... I have zero expectation that he's going to stay. And if he does stay, he's going to nearly 30 and they're going to give him a 4 years plus one.
They'd be absolutely mental to let him stay at this point.
It doesn't make any sense given what we've seen over the last 6 years,
And even if I'd even be thinking about it, even if it had gone better, he misses 3 months every season.
Yeah.
And it's not going to change.
Nope.
It's not going to get better that. And it's just, even that is, if you can't rely on someone's availability, then their usefulness is much less significant. I mean, I'm wondering if we might see Pogba, particularly now Greenwood's gone, play on the left a little bit. I guess I hope not, because what I want to see is more interplay between the strikers than we're seeing. And one of the reasons we haven't seen it is because it keeps changing.
Mm-hmm.
But Sancho is now beginning to settle. Although Rangnick did say afterwards that he was just tired.
Yes.
And part of me was like, I'm sorry, you're tired. Everyone's tired. We're all tired.
I know that. Yeah, we're tired of different things, but that did strike me as odd. I mean, Sancho seemed to be feeling the kind of his adductor area of his thigh. So I thought, oh, is he injured, or was he just using that as an excuse to come off? He's not had loads of minutes. He's played one game in 2, hasn't he, for United? So he's probably not fit for Rangnick style.
I mean,
fitness.
That's the problem. Is he started not fit, and then they've had these 2 weeks off, and that game, like, I know that it went to extra time in some ways. Probably wasn't that bad for some of those players because they've had 2 weeks off, and so they may feel fitter for Burnley, even though in theory they might be. Yeah. You might think they'd be more tired because they played 120 minutes.
Yeah, but they had a lot of time off. Yeah, I'd be interested to see where Ronaldo is for that Burnley game, because he gave it a lot. Whatever you think of Ronaldo, his reputation, his off the pitch activities, his ego and all of that, he was hammering away right until the end of that game, which wasn't necessarily the case for every player in every minute of this season. He was completely ineffective throughout the almost entire 120 minutes. So,
the thing with Ronaldo is that it's now, it feels like it's become clear now that Greenwood was goal and good, frankly, good riddance. They're going to need to buy a striker this summer. And that's obviously, I doubt they planned to do that unless they could get Haaland, but they are going to need a goal scorer, a centre forward this summer. One of the problems with Ronaldo, I think, is that he needs to decide what kind of centre forward he's going to be. Because at the moment, he's in between. Is he going to be a poacher? Mm-hmm. Is he going to play between the width of the posts and stay in the box? Then he can do that if he needs to do it, but he needs to always basically be in the box. And the other option is he going to come much deeper, like Sheringham or whatever, hold the ball out, touch it off? Is he going to do that? And at the moment, he's sort of doing a mixture of those things. He's coming deep, he's coming too deep. There aren't necessarily runners going past him because they don't know he's going to do that. Yeah, he's going wide, but because it's at the point now where if Ronaldo's 1-on-1 with the last defender, he doesn't have the legs to beat the last defender anymore.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. He starts to look clumsy when he gets tired as well. But my take on it is that Rangnick wants something out of him that he can't give. And if he wants a more all-action forward who can run the channels and be the last man and be a number 9 and press, he's not going to get that out of Ronaldo. It's just, we've got a system and a player that doesn't fit. But I don't know whether Rangnick's balls are big enough to make a decision there and change it around. And just use Ronaldo as an impact player for the last 20 minutes. But then
the thing is to do that, who's your front three? Because he seems to like Sancho on the left and Rashford on the right. I mean, and I'm not certain why he's doing that. I wonder if it's because Rashford's a bit quicker, so has the pace to go on the outside. which Sancho, he could threaten it, but he's not quite as quick. It might be that, I'm not sure.
Sancho's numbers and his performances, I think, every time I saw him from Dortmund, were better coming off the left. He's just not a winger in the kind of old-fashioned sense of the words, and he just feels more dangerous cutting in and knitting balls into other forwards or shooting. Numbers are great there.
I think the other thing about that is that Sancho, if you've got him playing on the left, then, because one of the advantages of Sancho is he's a playmaker. He's not just a winger. He's someone that I thought when we bought him that one of the reasons it might help us get away without having signed a midfield player was that we'd be better at keeping the ball, because Sancho was someone that can facilitate that. But I mean, I guess he's going to play. He's in the team now, Sancho and Rashford. But then your third player, like if you were to drop Ronaldo, then you've got Cavani. You never know if he's going to be fit or not, and Elanga.
Yeah,
unless you play Rashford through the middle and Pogba on the left. That's your other option.
We'll see with Cavani. Not too many international breaks to come, and maybe he can do what he did last season, which is have a good back half of the season and actually stay fit for most of it.
So the other thing, that was the other Ralph thing that sounded a bit off with Cavani, but actually when you break it down, like Cavani's asked some extra days off, and you're thinking, you what? Like who gets extra days off? But if you bear in mind that he was never going to play in that game because he wasn't back in time, and having a couple of days to hang out in Uruguay and then come, it feels a bit like special treatment or whatever. But if you want to get the most out of someone, that you want them to be happy and you want them to respect your authority, then letting him have those extra couple of days probably wasn't a terrible thing.
I think it's all right, and I don't think he'd have brought it up if he'd said no, and Cavani would have come back. I'm sure it's like he wanted out of the club in the summer and made the decision because of much begging and a very fat contract to stay for an extra year. It's okay. He's not going to provide great value for money over these 2 years, but he'll provide something if he can stay fit and happy enough. So.
And to bring it back to Ronaldo, it still comes down to, for me at this point with him, that he wasn't someone I was coveting before we got him. I totally understood that the board didn't feel they could have him going to City, which was really the only reason United bought him. And at the time, though, it felt like, okay, well, he's an upgrade on Cavani, ultimately. Just look at it in really basic terms. But the fact remains that however much you think he's hampering the way United played, he's not what he was, and you can't play properly with him. If it wasn't for him, the season would now be over, apart from fourth place. There is no way that if United hadn't bought him and they tried to proceed with the front three of last season or whatever, they would not still be in Europe.
Yeah, quite probably true. Would United have done better with a different forward if they'd spent that money? Because the fee's tiny, but the wages are not. And so the whole package will cost the club 60 million over 2 years.
But Ronaldo will presumably be bringing money in on account of the fact that it's him. It wasn't him or another forward. It was him or no one. And ultimately, it being him and not no one is the only reason United is still in the Champions League. United would not still be in the Champions League if it wasn't for him.
We have a game coming up against Atletico on the 23rd of February. It should be an interesting one because Atletico are not going great, just got spanked by Barcelona.
Rubbish.
Yeah, shipping goals, which has not been the case under Simeone. But when you lose 4-2 against Barcelona, this is not a good Barcelona side, and they're still not playing good football under Xavi, you've got to be concerned. So there's a chance there for United for sure. A few games before then. Realistically, United are not going to win the Champions League. Could go a round or two more. And now out of the Carabao Cup.
Well, if you go a round or two more, then you can win it. If you just one more round is the last day. They should be Atletico. They should get to the last day. And then at that point, I would say that United's top level would struggle to beat Bayern Munich at any point. But almost any other team, if United turn up over 2 legs, they're a nasty proposition for anyone because they've got some proper players. And they aren't good enough or cohesive enough to win it or whatever, but they are capable of putting together a decent defensive performance. That would then mean that you've got these other players that can produce stuff. So I don't think that they will win the Champions League, but if they're in the last day, they've got a puncher's chance. And we've seen worse teams than this win the Champions League.
Yeah, the couple of Liverpool teams have won the Champions League in recent years, definitely worse.
The problem is that, I was watching Liverpool today thinking I want Liverpool to win this game, to beat Cardiff, because the treble needs to be defended. And ultimately, United now aren't in the cup now, someone needs to beat City in something.
Yep.
Because, I mean, the year we got really lucky was that Wigan game where it felt like that was, I thought, was Guardiola's best team. It looked like City. It really did that season. It looked like City were going to win everything. And then that was the most, in all the post-treble seasons, that was the one, that first year where they lost, the first year that Guardiola won the league, where they lost to Wigan in the Cup, and then I think they lost to Liverpool in the Champions League, where I felt like that was the season the treble was most under threat. But this season, obviously, we're not quite deep enough to feel like it's properly under threat yet, but City are good enough to win. Obviously, they're the best team in England, so they're good enough to win the FA Cup. And there are teams in the Champions League that could do them over 2 legs, but I mean, yeah, they are. Them buying the 2 best teams around, and at that point, it's starting to feel unpleasantly close. And this is one of the things that when United were good, at least people that despised us had another option.
Yep.
So if United weren't going to win the league, well, maybe it would be Chelsea, or maybe it would be Arsenal, or maybe it'd be Blackburn. Whereas now United are shit.
It's all bad options.
It's going to be Liverpool or it's going to be City every season. It starts with like you're making bargains with yourself about damage limitation. So the first season, it was like, well, I don't want Liverpool to win the league this season. But then I switched. And actually now, if you're offering me, I prefer like, the year that Liverpool did win it, I preferred it to be Liverpool than City. And now I feel like, yeah, I guess I've kind of invested, like I'm trying to invest in this Liverpool team finishing, basically like them coming to the end of the cycle, and all they've won is 1 league title, one Champions League, because then it becomes very hard to argue that they're a proper great team if that's all they've got to show for themselves.
Yeah, unfortunately for that to happen, it might be that City win the treble, which would be deeply, deeply unpleasant.
That would be disastrous. That would be absolutely. City winning the Champions League itself would be disastrous.
Yeah,
but because it's one of those things. Because like we grew up, like one of the first late football matches I was allowed to stay up and watch was the 1984 European Cup final, Liverpool against Roma. So that was 5. Liverpool winning European Cups, something that's unfortunately always been in my life. Whereas City winning European Cups was something I never expected to remotely be part of my life, and now it is. So them winning it would be disastrous, but then winning it and doing the treble would be absolutely horrendous.
Yeah, I don't want to think about it yet, but we might have to countenance it. They're playing Peterborough, Chelsea got Luton, and Liverpool got Norwich, so they're all going to be in the
which is basically what you want at this point,
Cup,
because you need there to be enough teams that. Yep. I mean, City will obviously draw whoever it is. Their luck with the draw is tremendous. I mean, it really is quite
suspiciously
really
tremendous, isn't it?
But
yes.
At some point, they will have to play a decent team, and you just hope that you want them to start getting the build up again. You want the difficult quarterfinal.
So if we're going to spread the trophies around nation states and oligarchs, at least.
Oh man, what state of affairs.
Divvy it up a little bit, yeah. Oh, it's depressing times. At least we got a few years before Newcastle regularly winning stuff. But on City winning the Champions League, it just feels it has to be inevitable at some point because there's no restrictions. There's no financial restrictions. So.
We got very lucky. In the first few post-Fergie years, we got very, very lucky that we got like Chelsea and Leicester like scant those league titles and no one thought that they would. And I would say City, there was those 2 seasons under Guardiola where City were the best team in Europe, and they contrived to get beat by Liverpool, and then they managed to get beat by Spurs.
Yep.
And that was like, imagine one of Fergie's great teams losing a Champions League knockout tie to Tottenham.
Yeah. No, it's unthinkable, isn't it?
That would just never happen.
Guardiola, for all his brilliance, still has it in him to come up with an absolutely mental lineup for no particular reason.
That's part of it. But to me, the main thing is just this defending.
Yep.
There's a reason why he's only won the Champions League with the best midfield effort and Messi. And it's because what he wants from a defence is great for the league title, because it means when you play teams, because the thing about Guardiola is for all the genius, he's always had the best players in the league. In every league he's been in, he's had the best players, right? So if you've got the best players and you play his style of football, which is the hardest style of football to beat, because you can't get the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have like Mascherano as a centre-back, but when you've got those players in front of him, but you can't get away with having Martinez, say, as a centre-back, who's not a defender, when you don't have Messi and that defence. Even if you've got really good players, like you've got Robin and Ribery or whatever, you've got those players who are brilliant, but they're not earth-shatteringly brilliant in the way that Barcelona midfield was. And you see it with City. That there was the goal that when they lost that first leg to Tottenham, they lost 1-0. There was the goal. I think Son maybe scored. I think he had like something like 7 straight touches in the box.
Right.
And then they conceded like 2 goals in the first 10 minutes of the second leg. And same against Liverpool, that when they lost to Liverpool, like that tie was over in the first 20 minutes at Anfield, because if you've got those defenders that he likes to have, who you're basically, and the goalkeeper who you've got because they're good on the ball, that will help you dominate league games to the point where you're almost impregnable because the inferior teams can't get the ball from you.
Yeah.
But when you play other teams with brilliant attackers, they don't need to have the ball that much to be able to hurt you. And if you marry that with the fact that Guardiola likes quiet boys.
Yeah.
He doesn't like players with personality, like Falabi Yaya Toure, for example.
Yeah.
That was that town. He doesn't, like, if you look at his City players, they're quiet boys.
Yeah.
And the one that I always think about, the game I always think about, is when United played Juve in '99 in the first half of the first leg of the semi, they got absolutely played off the pitch.
Yes.
But because they had proper characters in that team, they managed to get out of it at 1-0 and then came on strong in the second half.
Yep.
Whereas when City played like that against Liverpool, for example, it was 3-0, not 1-0.
Yeah.
And it's to do with, not just to do with about like ability to defend. Like John Stones is not a top level of the Champions League defender.
Yep.
It's partly that, but it's also where's your ballast? Like where's your nastiness? Like Fernandinho, but in the current lot, like the players, when you need players to dig in and be like nasty and cruel and stop more goals getting conceded when you're on the ropes, doesn't really employ those kind of characters.
No, and trying to find the balance of defenders who are nasty, brutish, do whatever you have to do defenders, plus are lovely on the ball and can play through midfield and ensure that they can play that way as well. It is a tough mix to find, and he's not always.
Yeah, everyone would have them. I mean, Rio Ferdinand, Van Dijk, but yeah, they're not many of them. And even now, like if you look at the centre backs that he's got, Ruben Diaz, who had a brilliant season last season, but it did sort of look like he was someone having a brilliant season rather than someone who was that brilliant.
Yes.
But who does have the mentality, and it felt like his mentality elevated the players around him to not let goals in. But Laporte is a good player, but slow. Stones is quite a good player, but slow and error-prone.
It is interesting. I can't remember who they've got in the next round of the
Sporting.
they've got Sporting. Okay, well they'll be fine. Yeah.
Whose manager is also good.
Are they top of the? I've forgotten what the Portuguese league is called these days.
Primera, I think. Primera Division, I think. Yeah, I think they are. They've got Sporting have got some good players.
Yeah,
and the manager's also meant to be good. That's a much more interesting tie than the Villarreal one that they originally had. I think it was Villarreal they were meant to play.
Yes,
and so Sporting seems much more interesting. I mean, City will beat them, but Sporting are much more likely to cause them a few issues. And the first leg's in Portugal, which I know it's not meant to be an advantage, but I always quite like the first leg at home because it means that you can finish the tie. And often when you play an inferior teams should be, by the first leg being at their place, it enables them to play their way into the tie in a way that they wouldn't necessarily feel as able to do if they were
This is the last season with away goals in the Champions League as well, I believe.
I thought away goals didn't count.
Do they not count
I
anymore?
think away goals...
they went. They gone?
I think they're gone. I think they're gone.
Okay.
Which is good.
Right.
Like, essential truism of football, one goal should equal one other goal.
One goal. Yeah.
It doesn't matter how it got there, but it's a goal, yeah.
No, whether Duncan Watmore basketballed it in or it goes off someone's arse or whatever it is, they all count as one goal. Coming back to Middlesbrough, large diversion. What is it about United goalkeepers? Can any of them save a penalty? It's 21 straight.
I mean, in fairness, I could look the other way. What is it about dickheads that have to take amazing penalties against United? There was the first one that Henderson should have stopped.
Yes,
but other than that,
the top of it
didn't have a prayer with any of them. There was the one that almost hit the bar.
Almost hit the bar, and he looked a bit sheepish afterwards because he was clearly off balance when he took it, but he went right into the top corner, basically. And yeah, I never like a one-step run-up. I don't like it when you're Eric Bailly. and you're doing it in the African Nations Cup quarterfinal. I don't like it when you're Anthony Elanga doing it. It just doesn't feel like it feels. You have to contort your body to go anywhere else.
It's just
other than high into
it's a 5-a-side penalty. Just do what. Give yourself the best chance of scoring.
Yeah.
And a one-step penalty is not giving yourself the best chance of scoring. It
is not.
Like, just take it normally. Just do what you're meant to do.
Sadly, he took a lot of abuse, social media, which is like, inevitable and not forgivable, but inevitable. And he's a young player, and the team rallied around him pretty quickly. And it doesn't matter because United blew it well before it got to the penalties. But I hope it doesn't affect him too much.
I'm sure he'll be fine. I mean, he should have scored that header as well. But yeah, he's a good player. Like, he'll come back from that. It's frustrating to be out of the cup, is what it is.
Yeah, it is really frustrating because despite maybe United could pull something off in the Champions League, the best opportunity was probably the FA Cup, although with Spurs, Liverpool, City and Chelsea all in it, does the quality drop? I don't know.
I just thought it's also, they need more games. They need games to get to know each other, to get to play with each other, to settle into a formation, to settle into a method of play. And I guess I don't want 3 weekends. I want to watch them. I want to watch them play. I don't want to watch other teams playing cup semi-finals.
No,
just nothing enjoyable about that.
There really isn't. Before the Champions League, we've got Burnley next. I don't know what you think about, but I mean, they're a dreadful team. They're a dreadful team that play dreadful football. They've got awful fans. Turf Moor's a dump, and they've got private equity ownership that loaded all the debt onto the books. The worst kind of vulture capitalists. Is there anything to like about these guys?
Burnley? I'm going to not tomorrow, on Tuesday. So I guess I'm looking forward to it. But
good.
I think that. I mean, they should have enough to stay up. They've done a good job swapping Wood for Weghorst, who
reliably a better goal scorer. Yep.
And money. They actually, I saw quite a bit of them at the beginning of the season, and they should have more points than they've got. You kept hearing Sean Dyche say we're actually playing okay, and you kind of laugh because obviously Sean Dyche, he sort of has that demeanour of, if he wasn't a football manager, he'd be teaching a speed awareness course. Like he's that kind of wanting to always be telling you something. But he was right. I mean, it felt like they should have more points than they've got. But it also now gets to the point, because they're so far behind in the games, like that, are they going to put together the run of results that they need to get out of it?
And it just doesn't look like it, does it? I'd much rather have the points, even though they've got 3 games in hand or whatever it is, if I was Burnley.
Yeah, I definitely think you'd rather have the points at this point. I'm just looking at the table now. They got 13 off 19.
And they can't score goals.
And Newcastle, they got 15 off 21. Yeah. 16 goals all season. And now Norwich have found some form as well. Yeah, and if you assume, obviously, that Everton are going to get out of it, then, I mean, Brentford might get sucked into it, because Brentford are 23 from 23.
Mm-hmm.
And they're losing. But yeah, I mean, I guess if you were guessing, you'd probably say Burnley, Watford, Norwich will go down.
Yeah, Brentford might get sucked in. I mean, they lost 4 of the last 5 in the league, which is not, for all the kind of interesting start they had to the season. They have struggled in the last 15 games to get enough points.
Since Jadon Sancho went to that family funeral, they've not been the same.
So Burnley just can't score goals. They can't score goals, and this is going to be their problem. And maybe Weghorst is like 9 foot tall.
You just know, the set pieces. It's just going to be absolutely horrific watching. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what Team United play. I guess you might see Fred in for Pogba.
I think it's likely. I don't think Pogba's body would hold up to 2 games in a row anyway in 3 days after so many weeks out. You'd be looking at another muscle injury. So good chance Fred comes in. At the back, I guess it'll be Varane and Maguire, I guess. So
yeah, I mean, presumably Varane got taken off because they didn't want him to play for 2 hours, because they want him to play on Tuesday. I mean, he was only Middlesbrough, but
he looked good, didn't he?
He looked very handy. Yeah, he's starting to settle now, where he just looks totally in control all times.
Yeah.
And he always seems to find that extra bit of leg that you need when it looks like maybe he's in trouble. He's just got that go-go gadget leg extension.
Yes. It would be very nice if he stayed fit for the rest of the season. So, and he's throughout his career, he's not had these big injuries, but he's had little ones, and I think that was part of the thinking about why Madrid were happy to not meet his wage demands.
Well, that was the fear, wasn't it? That they know something that we don't know, because we saw it with Owen Hargreaves, who obviously was good enough for long enough to get us the Champions League, but we saw it with Hargreaves, we saw it with Schweinsteiger also, in a different kind of way. Like, there's a reason why this other team with whom you aspire to be rivals are getting rid of this player that's coming cheap. It doesn't always work like that, but Varane, I mean, he looked, you kind of began to wonder, is he susceptible to niggles that you get by virtue of being a footballer?
Yep. Burnley played Watford yesterday, got a draw. They both needed 3 points there, and they drew with Arsenal before that. They haven't won a game in... I'm trying to find it. October was the last time they won a game, which is not good.
No. Their defenders are good in a rear guard. So, like, I mean, against Arsenal, they played well against Arsenal. Like, Arsenal had like a sort of a 10-minute period in the second half where it looked like they were going to score. But other than that, like Tarkowski and me are good in a rear guard.
And they'll drop really deep.
They're not necessarily good enough to play at that much higher level, because then you've got to start playing with a high line. But in terms of defending the box, they know what they're doing, those players.
The options for United are to come in probably Fred, and then up front, I mean, do we see the same three up front? There's an option to bring Elanga in.
So I definitely wouldn't take out Sancho or Rashford. If I was taking out a striker, I'd take out Ronaldo. I don't think that'll happen, but it might be Cavani. It might be Cavani.
Yep.
It might be Cavani in for Ronaldo, because Ronaldo played 120 minutes the other night.
Yep.
And it might be that, but
could be.
The combinations in that way are probably better, because Cavani is someone who you can play off, and you know that he will then attack the near post. You know what he's going to do. And I imagine that's easier to play with than Ronaldo, who you're not quite sure what kind of striker Ronaldo is trying to be. And it would be good if, as I said before, if someone would make that decision.
So, I mean, and we know what the pattern of the game will be. United have 60% of the ball, and Burnley will try and hit long balls to Weghorst's very big head and create something off set pieces and corners, and it could well be. You know, Burnley can win this 1-0. You can see in that pattern exactly what could happen if United blow the same number of chances. Let's hope not.
No, I mean, if United create that same number of chances, that would be progress.
Yeah.
If they're starting to create that quality of chance that often, and there probably isn't that much between Burnley and Borough.
8 places and not that much quality difference. We'll see. Okay, well, that's it.
But is Maxwell Cornet?
He will be fit. They'll play a straight 4-4-2. Basically, it's as old school as it gets in the Premier League from Sean Dyche. Another reason to not really give a crap. I mean, if you're a Burnley fan, you'd be really worried about them where they are, because they are going to be in some deep, deep trouble if they go down financially, like really deep trouble. It wouldn't surprise me, given it's a private equity fund, if they just walk away, go, that's our investment, burnt, bye.
Have they been up? When did Burnley last come up? When did they come up? They didn't, because the first time I remember going to Burnley was 09-10, but they've been down and up since then.
I honestly can't remember, because they were run historically on an even keel, which is sustainable, but now they're not.
Yeah, but they've been bought.
Different model. So anyway, I guess that's it, unless there's any news happened this week we didn't cover?
Oh, New United fan. There's a New United fanzine that was selling at the Southampton game called Deepest Red, which the plan is that Carly, the editor, she's trying to take a kind of a social history look at United. So it's looking at the...
Yeah, it looks interesting.
I have one and I'm enjoying it. It's looking at the kind of the people that comprise United, the places that comprise United. So doing something different to the excellent fanzines that we already have. And if you're listening to this pod, you should be backing all of them, because as supporters, we need these fanzines, even if you think that we don't. They are trying to make things better for all of us.
No, I think they play an important role in fan culture for sure. Yes. Are you going to be doing some writing for it?
Not that I don't plan to, but
no,
I do want to support it, because I mean, I guess my inclination would be to support it before I'd seen it, because we should. But I have seen it and it is great. So if you could, their website, there's some really good articles on their website. It's called Deepest Red, where they've interviewed some kind of time-served Reds who are telling their stories of the crazy shit they've got up to watching United. That I really enjoyed those pieces.
Yeah.
So hard recommend for them.
Nice. Great. Great. Yeah, I'll check it out. I haven't read any of their stuff yet, but I like that kind of thing. So do that. We'll be back midweek. I think I'm chatting with Tom after the Burnley game, after Burnley won, United 0.
Oh,
It's all right.
look forward to that.
High quality stuff, I'm sure it'll be. And then I think I'm back with you next week. Backers, stay tuned. We're going to talk about some FA Cup memories. Thanks, everyone. Bye now.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.